Okay, so I'm gonna reverse roll this one. So I'm gonna start with wiping off the outside here. And we're gonna peel one of the corners. Sure. I'm gonna peel one of the corners, and I'm gonna go about a quarter of the way down. I cooked this corner just a bit. So we're gonna go about there. Missed it, and then I'm gonna grab it here from the lower corner. And I'm gonna pick this side up. We're gonna go about halfway and missed it, and just be careful not to over soak the top. And we're gonna lay this back down. So I start with laying down that bottom corner, grab the top corner, and then lay this back down. So this is a way to help peel the liner in a really controlled way. So it's not, you know, just all bunching up, falling over on itself, and then you can lay it down basically how you picked it up. So I'm gonna run to the passenger side and then roll this thing up like a poster. So right like that. I'll start with just the lower cornered area. Try and keep this roll as tight as I can. Like a sushi roll. We'll spray this just a little bit more.
It's from the CIA.
What's the... Yeah, it's the CIA. It's the Apple Vision Pro 6. This is the Insta360 Go 3. I put a bracket on my glasses, and then I just stick this there, so when I want to film something like this, it's easy. Oh my god, I gotta lift this up. Okay, so now that this is partially rolled up, we just keep going all the way, and that's why it's important to try and keep it a little bit on the tighter side.
Why do you keep it tight?
So you'll see that once we get on the inside of the window, like how that comes into play. Sometimes it turns out a little bit better than others, but that deck lid here, you only have so much space down here. So the thicker this roll is, the harder that is to tuck down exactly where you need it to go. And right above it, we have headliner and other stuff. So anytime we bump into extra things, you can possibly introduce contaminants and stuff into your windshield. So you can play this like a flute. Sorry, the one part that gets hung up sometimes. So what we need to do now is peel this liner back. So we stick the liner to the backside of the tint. And this is kind of the magical part. When you unroll it, you just have exposed window tint. And then I'm gonna mist this section off just to give me a head start, and it helps it slide on the glass a little bit better. And then there's a sprayer right there. Can you hand that to me? Down there by the steering wheel. Sweet. So I'm gonna just mist that section and then take my film, and then we're gonna start with that lower corner right down here. You don't have to unroll necessarily quite this much film. So I probably went a little farther than what I should have, but the important part here is tucking that up on the glass first, sliding this down, and then I can start getting this left side up on the windshield, right like that. And then as soon as that's on there, it's a lot easier to press this film up on the glass. It's really well anchored there, and then we'll just continue to unroll a section. And so you can see like how thick this roll is. and it pushes against where that dash is. And some windshields, they're just super tight. They just don't give you much space at all. So if you have to go up a little higher, sometimes it's nice to have this tape here. Otherwise that'd be dragging up against the headliner, getting all sorts of little hairs and stuff. What's that other guy? Car Supplies Warehouse. Yeah. Yeah, it's not exactly fun when that happens. All right, so peel this back. I just want to make sure that that's clear. And then I got the liner here, so I'm gonna flip this around. So I'm not as worried about this tape yet. We just want to kind of tuck this up and out of my way then, if it does that. Just kind of keep it up there. Keep pulling this across. And then you get to this end, and this is where, just be careful, but you can pull the liner out before you get to the pillar. That way it doesn't bunch up. Spritz that down. And then tuck the rest up onto the windshield. From here, we want to shift this into place, make sure we cover up any gaps. Gotta get below that, push that up. Tuck everything in on the sides. Pull that off, we don't need it there anymore. Biggest thing with 50 is just making sure everything is covered, because it's so easy to be a little shy on one of the edges and wish you just shifted it over a bit.
What's your acceptable amount of contamination for a windshield?
5 piece, no. Acceptable is always up to the customer. Anything big and really distracting. So if we had a big hair or something like right in the driver's line of sight, that to me would be an immediate redo. There's certain little things you can kind of get away with in most cases, but it's always up to the customer. Customer's gonna walk up to their driver's door first. So if there's something very noticeable in that driver's door, albeit it might be small, but if they notice it, then all of a sudden it goes from being a perfect job to an imperfect job. And that's where they're like, oh, and they start looking at all their other windows. So you always want, when you walk up to a car, you want the impression that this is an awesome job. So whatever it takes to make it look like that, when you have grouping of speckling and that kind of stuff, that's where it's all of a sudden very not perfect. So we're going over it with the pink clean, pressing some of these out. It's nice because it contours to the windshield a little bit easier. So I'm getting this film spread out and a fair amount of bubbles pressed out, but it's not pushing around the film. And then I'll go with a harder squeegee and then just press a little extra hard, and you'll really see some of those water pockets getting pushed out. The more water that you can get out, the faster it's gonna dry for your customers, the nicer it's gonna look right away. But you really only have to do this once, and then there's gonna be some little edge touch-ups. What's that?
Is that a Conquest in the background?
That is. How do so many people recognize that car?
I would not have known. You could not have picked that out of the lineup.
There's been like I've had a couple, like a video where somebody asked me about that. A few people on the live stream. Man, you guys like your Conquests. That's cool. We booked it and I had no idea. I'm like, uh-oh, what are we getting into? So then for this lower section, that's where, again, I go to this guy, like Stroke Doctor or Side Swipe. Swipe all this out. And then we're gonna clean off the windshield, check out all the edges especially. So if there was like a little hair or something, we might be able to address it. So far, everything seems pretty good. I like doing this a little bit better than just taking a towel to it, just because you have so much. You have dryer sheet, you have a lot of water. It scuzzes up your towels really fast. But you want to know really quickly, is there something there that would be a problem? So far, I didn't see anything. But what these squeegees are going to do is just cover a lot of surface area and just clean this off right away, where I can see, hey, there's something there. I fucked up. I suck at tinting. All those fun things. Those fun, positive messages to yourself.
Is this hard to do myself? I just nicked my tint with my seatbelt and I want one to fix it.
Go for it. I mean, just doing one window well can be tough because you gotta be able to set like your own expectations. Some people can just watch some videos and kind of understand it and do a halfway decent job. I never discourage people to not try it out because you learn a lot. Whether or not you get a good job, you learn a lot about the process and what it takes. So there's a lot of little steps involved. So watch some videos. That way you know what you're getting into. Get some film and go for it.